Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of eDiscovery After Hours. My guest this week is Stephen McCann from Lineal. Stephen's a huge football fan, or as we in the States know it, soccer fan. He actually got to help a huge figure for Arsenal research and write their autobiography. So we talk about what that experience was like. We talk about some of the charities and nonprofit work that he's been involved with. And we also talk about how he met and proposed to his fiancé. So a really cool conversation, touches a lot of different areas. I know that you are going to love it. The sponsor for this week is Discovery Master. You are probably involved with document review projects where you're tracking multiple projects within the same large instance of relativity, or maybe multiple projects across multiple instances or multiple workspaces. Listen, whatever it is you're trying to track, you need to check out Discovery Master. It can help you automate budgets, QC stats, finding key subsets of documents, understanding how different pieces are at play, and basically get you out of all of the manual reporting and the updating of the Excel files that you're doing today. Discovery Master automates everything through relativity's open APIs in the back end. So check out www.discoverymaster.co and schedule a demo today. Thanks for tuning in.
Quick time!
You don't know how to drink, your whole generation.
Drinks on the house.
Yes, sir.
No, wait a second. Drinks are 50% off.
Right.
No, wait a second. Double the price of everything.
And I work only 16 hours a day.
A union man only works 8 hours a day.
I belong to 2 unions.
And now, eDiscovery After Hours with your host, Ryan Short.
Stephen McCann, thanks for joining me. Welcome to eDiscovery After Hours. Cheers, mate.
Oh, cheers, Ryan. Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. What are we drinking today?
Today we're drinking ginger beer and lime. One of my favourite tipples. I remember you had a show with Jonathan Moody not too long ago where you were kind of maybe complaining a little bit about ginger and lime. So I do apologise, but at this time of the day, it's kind of my most suitable poison, really.
Yeah. So let's do a couple of shout outs. So first, you got to give the people what they want, right? The tagline of the show is the guest chooses the drink, the host chooses the questions. So I'm not going to stand in your way. Jonathan Moody of Page One actually sent me Grapico, which was this, he's in Birmingham, Alabama, and Grapico is a local product. And it's like, imagine like a grape soda, like on steroids. Like this was the most sugary, heavy thing ever. I actually had Moscow Mules with who did I have those with? Kristen Traylor from Relativity. So not my first choice, but I'm glad to partake.
I did go Googling for the Jonathan Moody's Grapico, right?
Grapico.
I found that I think there was 4,750 spoonfuls of sugar in there, so it's quite a sweet one.
It's wild. Yeah. I was sipping casually. So, well, it's good to be with you, man. And
pleasure.
You are actually not a stranger to being behind the mic. I understand that you have some kind of a broadcasting background. So tell me about that.
Yeah, sure. So I've done a lot of sports broadcasting. I've done lots of I worked for a station in London called Love Sports a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, is where I started there. And then I did some on talk radio as well. So yeah, I've been doing some sports broadcasting for quite a while. I had a show where we did kind of the countdown to kickoff, where we talked about the upcoming games and so on. And during the World Cup, I slightly foolishly volunteered to be a commentator during the World Cup game. So I had about 7 hours in a row of commentating on quite obscure football matches, and I knew maybe 2 stats, which I kind of regurgitated for about 4 hours about the same thing. So, I spoke about cigars when Panama were playing about 50 times, but it was a good experience.
So I wondered then, you talked about signing on to, and you talked for 7 hours about these obscure teams. I always wonder, like during the Olympics, where you have these people talking about, these TV commentators who either talking about whether it's, curling or what's the the silly one in the winter where it's like cross country skiing and bow shooting and where do these people come up with this fodder for color commentary for hours upon hours? Like, how does that happen?
It's a good question. The answer to that is that there is a team of people that go and get all of these cheat sheets and then give them to you. Sadly, I didn't really have one of those. I had a few. We had a young kid that was, I think, from a local production school or something, and he gave us kind of the newspapers and so on. But yeah, the answer is that it comes from a lot of homework. The more traditional commentators, there's a chap called John Motson in England who's very, very famous. He does his own research and he has all of these amazing stats and stuff like that. But I was always quite lucky. Football as well as boxing and tennis, I kind of have a really good kind of encyclopedic knowledge about it, being a real kind of anorak, as we call over here. So I was a bit of an anorak about sports. So I could kind of reel them off, really. It was like me just boring my friends, but having a microphone in front of me.
I like that. That's what I do now professionally. It's good. Which club do you root for? Which football club?
Which I root for? I'm a big fan of Arsenal. I live maybe 2 minutes from their stadium. Wow. So I live I live in Highbury. They play at the Emirates Stadium, but their stadium used to be called Highbury. So yeah. I'm 2 minutes from there. If you walk out of my front door, everyone's in red and white scarves. It's a really big Arsenal community. The players are frequently around here. We had an auction 3 weeks ago, and I spent yet more money on Arsenal signed shirts. And there was an auction, so my reason was it was an auction, of course. So it's all going to charitable causes. But if you look behind me, there's signed footballs and shirts all over my walls and everything. But I'm a huge Arsenal fan. I'm a fan of Celtic as well, who are a Scottish team, green and white Scottish team. Because of my dad. My dad's from Glasgow, as is my mum, and I kind of got brainwashed from an early age to be a Celtic fan. But Arsenal are my team in London. I follow them all around the world. I've got a season ticket. I've met the players numerous times, and it's a real passion of mine. So if you're ever in London, Ryan, I'd love to take you to a game. I take everyone who visits with me. It'd be my pleasure.
I'll take you up on that in a heartbeat. And if you want to see some bad American football, when you're in Indianapolis, I'll take you down to see my alma mater, who went 2-10 this year. And I was drinking things that were a lot stronger than ginger beer by the third quarter of those games.
Yeah, welcome to an Arsenal fan's world. And also the Indy 500's with you as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 10 minutes from where I'm sitting right now.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. It's really cool, actually. The history of the Indy 500 is like really convoluted, really violent. Like in the early days, it was a very dangerous sport, both for the drivers as well as the fans. But it's a massive tradition, and I think it's the largest single day sporting event in the world. There's there's like 500,000 people. Indianapolis, the metro area, only has like 1.2 or 1.3 million. But that event, that single day event, has like 500,000 fans there. Between the tailgating outside, the stands inside, there's about 200,000 people in the stands, and then they have the infield. There's a couple of acres inside the track where people will party and tailgate. There's part of a golf course in there. It's really cool. So, it's good stuff. So not only are you a fan of Arsenal, but I think you've also had a hand in working with one of their former coaches on his autobiography. Is that right? Or am I mistaken?
No, you are very much correct.
So that's like, not only is that a cool piece of sports trivia, because not that many sports fans would ever get to do something like that, but that's also a really high honor. So how did that all come about, and what was that process like?
Okay. So Arsene Wenger is the manager, who was manager of Arsenal for 22 years, and he's a global icon and someone that I've been loved for so long. My future wife's stepfather is a publisher, and he's worked on, you name it, he's worked on it. He's had just the most interesting person you'll ever meet. And he was working on Arsene Wenger's book. And at the early stages, due to my Arsenal obsession, if you like, I've been quite I do a lot of shows with Arsenal. I've done a lot of radio stuff, that type of thing. And I remember very early in the process, Alan said to me, look, El's father-in-law, stepfather, he said, look, have you got a couple of just a few ideas we can maybe discuss? We can talk about doing maybe things to just, give me a bit of help with the book, really, or just from an Arsenal fan's perspective and all of that stuff. So I remember very vividly that weekend thinking, right, rather than doing 3 or 4 ideas, I'm really going to I'm really going to get into this. So I went to the Tate Modern, where I go to. There's a beautiful members bar where I just sit and do writing and read a lot. And I wrote down 35 ideas for the book, and I came back to Alan with them, and he loved it. He loved a few of them. A few of them weren't that great, which was fine. And then I kind of just got more involved, really. I then had ideas for the stats, and then I kind of got given, if you like, the responsibility of doing the stats for the book. I then had the idea a really kind of interesting idea to get all of the kits from Arsene Wenger's tenure, which is 22 years. So pictures of all the kits, which are all sponsored by Sega, Dreamcast, JVC, you name it, 20 years worth of sponsors. But it was my big idea, but I found out that it was going to be pretty impossible to get it done because we'd have to get all of the permissions in a very short period of time. But again, I just kind of went above and beyond and called up all of the sponsors, some of them in Japan. I called myself, I just worked it out. And eventually we got the email saying that we had it. The book was a roaring success, went to number one all around the world. It was a sports book of the year, and it won the Telegraph Book Awards, like a huge deal in the book world. And for me, I got to meet Arsene as well on my own, and it was just incredible to talk to him, and just amazing. You know, they say never meet your heroes, but to talk to someone that, you know, I've been just so interested in for so long, and he was just I was trying to be casual, but I don't think it came across that way. Casually stalkish, but no, I just had to have a conversation with him. I've seen him subsequently, and the whole process was absolutely amazing. I got an acknowledgement in the book as well, which I know it sounds only small, but for me, it's just something that in years to come, I'll be able to look back on. And it's been an amazing project to be involved in, and one that I'm really proud of, and just been an amazing thing, really. And Arsene so Arsenal went a whole season undefeated, so they're called in 2004 to 2003, 2004, and they were called the Invincibles, that team. They're very famous in British history, football history. And a movie came out 2 weeks ago documenting that season. It's a very famous season. And I went there, and Arsene Wenger was there again, and all the Arsenal players were there, and I got to say hello, and it was just absolutely magical. So yeah, a great thing that kind of came from nowhere, but I kind of cultivated this little project with love, and eventually it became this huge thing that I was just so privileged to get involved with. And I think like most things I try and do, and I think in life, if you genuinely do it because you're passionate and you love it, the rewards just come like as a secondary effect, really. Yeah. So I never did it because I wanted to meet him. I never did it because I wanted my name in the book. I just did it because I love soccer. I love Arsenal, and I just wanted to have even 1% input into the book would have been a dream come true for me. So yeah,
that's incredible. So, and you now then, you become this media mogul because you have a background in radio broadcasting, and now you're in book publishing. How would you compare or contrast those experiences? Did you find there to be, because you had been in broadcasting before, did that help you when it came to the book, or was it completely a different experience?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it helped me certainly in terms of believing in myself when I was asking people for things. There are certain things when I started at the beginning of radio, I just thought, I get quite severe imposter syndrome sometimes, like everyone really, but I'm very open with it. I say, oh gosh, what about? But I think just going after it, just doing what I did on the radio gave me the belief in myself that I can do this. There were moments when the book was in front of me and I was thinking, if I get this wrong and this goes to proof and gets printed, this could be bad. But it just gave me the belief to do it. And, you can do, without sounding like, Tony Robbins or anything, you can do whatever you want if you just focus on it. You're not afraid of failure. You almost embrace the idea of failure because that's how we learn. And I really do that in my professional life as well. I try and look at things and ask for help and always be very aware of what I'm good at, which is like what I always try and be really like focused on. But things that I'm not perhaps maybe good at, I'll ask others. And I just think that gave me the belief to really step up to the plate for this, really. So yeah, as I said, it was magnificent, and it's a great conversation starter with basically anyone in England. And
football is not the only thing that you're passionate about. You also are incredibly involved with charities and nonprofit organizations. Yeah. And honestly, the list is probably too long for me to name, but I mean, just a few names, right? Like Reach Out. You did something with Movember. I think you did some kind of a partnership with Visa.
Yeah.
You know, what's maybe just for the sake of time, what's one or two organizations that you're, you know, kind of most interested in? What do you do for them, and how did you get involved with them?
Yeah, I know. I'd love to talk about it. So Reach Out, who you mentioned first, are incredibly just such a wonderful charity who do work all around the country in Liverpool, Manchester, and London. They mentor kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. I got involved with them about 2 years ago. I signed up, and you know, the first year I did with my mentees, who are 14, 15-year-old boys. It was all done via Zoom, like we are now. It was all done like this. I never met my mentee until actually about 3 weeks ago for the first time. So I've known him for a whole year, never met him face to face. And you know, of course, he towers over me. He's about 6'3", but he didn't look that big. He didn't look that big on the screen. And I must admit, with Reach Out, I just kind of decided to give it everything. I decided, rather than just, you know, turning up after work a bit tired, etc., I was going to really turn up for them, for the kids. So I did loads of reading around how to be a good mentor. I did a lot of reading around how to listen to people, to kids, and what they were looking for. Because a lot of these kids, they're not bad children. They just they're disadvantaged. They've had a hard start. They've, you know, it could be many reasons why they've been referred to Reach Out, but they are such great kids. And the child that I worked with was just, he ended up winning an award that year because he developed so well in certain areas. I was immensely proud of him. I still am. I have him again this year, so I'm kind of getting to see his growth. I've just got invited by Reach Out to join the network development group, which is a huge honor for me. So I kind of go onto the committee now, and I've only just been invited to it, so I don't really know exactly what I'll be doing. But it'd be stuff like, you know, helping them with strategy, things of that nature. And I was invited about 3 weeks ago, which is what I posted about on LinkedIn. I was invited. Only a handful of us were invited, but I was invited, myself and two other mentors, to talk about our experiences in Reach Out to prospective sponsors, supporters, you know, things like that, because obviously, you know, that they need money, they need the awareness to be creative for what they're doing. But I love learning, I love teaching, I love mentoring, and it's made me a better, you know, worker at Lineal, in my opinion. I think it certainly improved my communication skills. And funnily enough, mentioning the Arsene Wenger book, Arsene very kindly signed a lot of maybe 5 books, and we gave them to the kids to wrap. We did a raffle or gave them out as prizes. I think it was prizes actually, and the kids got to keep some Arsene Wenger books. And that was wonderful. So yeah, that was just Reach Out. I can't stress enough how invested I am as a company, and they've got a wonderful CEO and a wonderful kind of young, hungry group of people who work there, who want to make change, and they're just incredible. If you get the opportunity to check them out on LinkedIn, I highly recommend it, because they don't just do mentoring, they do a whole range of kind of amazing just help. They just give help to young people. And I saw some of the young people that started a number of years ago there, and they've kind of grown. And now, you know, there was a wonderful chat there recently who was talking about how he now works for Adidas and he does all of these things. And he was he'd gone through the process. And I think that was just, for me, watching him, was thinking, you know, this is just exactly what it should be when you're helping younger people, because young people are great. And I think it can be very difficult these days, especially with social media, to be young and to you know, not be constantly worried about, you know, your progress, how well you're doing in life, in school, whatever. So yeah, I go down there. I mentor kids at Bow School, an area of East London, which is fantastic, and I absolutely love it. I couldn't be happier with Reach Out, and I hope I'm there for mentoring from as long as I can be useful to them, really.
What is it about that particular organization that caught your eye? I mean, you mentioned your mother and father, so you had, I assume and I hope, right, some kind of support system at home, but you know, whether it was a childhood friend or a cousin or, you know, a kid at school, or was there something, you know, that you've been exposed to in the past that really kind of had lit this fire under you previously? Or was this just a matter of, wow, this seems like a cool organization, I just want to jump in and see what happens?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, another good question. I think being a manager at work, I again, much like Reach Out, I try to read around it and try to do more and try to always be supportive. And when I managed reviews, document reviews, we'd have a lot of young lawyers, and I'd always try and see what they wanted and what they needed and how I could be helpful, rather than just standing there and saying, "Don't be late, do this, do that." I tried to be kind of almost like a partner for them, really, and that kind of led me to that. I was given really good feedback. Many of the document reviewers keep in touch with me and tell me how they're doing in their wonderful careers, which is a real gift in itself, really. And yeah, during lockdown, I mean, it was before lockdown, I looked at about maybe 4 or 5 mentoring programs. Reach Out jumped out to me just because I just got a lovely feel for them, and I maybe sent 3 emails. They were the first ones to come back to me. By the time the others came back to me, I was kind of already in the process. So I thought, hey, Harriet, the wonderful person who reached out to me, I was chatting to her and it kind of made sense. So I just stuck with them, really. And I've as I say, I try and use the skills there to in the real world, not just work, in my life too. People just want to be heard, and the skill of listening is so powerful. It's a superpower in itself. Just listening, with maybe if I'd have done Reach Out 10 years ago, I'd have completely just spoke constantly at these kids and just kind of maybe got cross with them and didn't do the work. Whereas now I just listen. Yes, I give them a bit of identification, because that's very powerful. I remember when I did that. Oh yes, that was difficult, And rather than being a teacher, I think I try and occupy this middle ground where I'm their friend, but equally I'm someone that I tell them the power of good, from what I've seen in my life. Apply yourself, work hard, be honest. Reach Out, do a thing called character strengths, which are also this four character strengths: good judgment, staying power. I forgot the others, but they're very, very useful. And
hopefully one of them is not good memory.
No, exactly. Yeah, so always under pressure, I forget such things. But
this is a low pressure environment. We're all friends here.
Yeah, but again, they work this into their program, and they frequently reference it. I know I should know right now. They frequently reference it, and yeah, and what's really, really nice is that the young people come back. They ask to come on it again the next year. Some of the testimonials, go on their website, some of the testimonials from what they say about what kids have said about Reach Out it bring a tear to your eye, really. And I think in this day and age, especially right now, I think we really do need hope for the future. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great experience. And if you want, I could talk about the other one that I kind of do. You said too, if you want.
Please go for it.
So the second one I work with is Janie's. So I work for a number of them, but one of them is Janie's Homeless Friends, who are a homeless charity based in Aylesbury in northwest London. But the first Sunday of every month, we do homeless volunteering at Charing Cross, which is a very busy part of central London, where the homeless congregate. It's right next to Coots Banks, where there's a lot of money, and it's the juxtaposition is quite amazing.
Jarring, yeah,
very jarring indeed. And so I do a lot of work there. I've been there for I think 4 years now, and again I just try and be useful. I try and just go down and turn up, because with a lot of charities, a part of 80% of it is turning up on time. So many people say to me, "Oh, I'd love to get involved, I'm too busy," or someone will come along once and I'll never see them again. I'm not criticizing them. I understand people have lives and circumstance, but I think if you're gonna, the reason I'm so loud about it on LinkedIn for one, and to my friends, is that you must show up for them. Because if you don't, it all falls down. You have to turn up. Someone's got to turn the lights on and open the door. It goes down to those granular levels. You've got to be there. So much with Reach Out, I give a lot of my time to Janie's Homeless Friends. If you want to check them out, they've got a wonderful website. And again, Janie, the person who runs it, has 5 sons who all come down and they cut hair, and we give clothes to homeless people, and we do a ton of stuff. And I'm so proud of how it's grown. But it's tough, it's tough to see people who, especially during lockdown, we did one where we couldn't do it for about 8 months or something, and I went down there and seeing people that haven't seen someone giving them food and drink, etc., for that long is hard. And these people are a lot of homeless charities try and, they're in there are stages of homelessness, if you like. It's not just being on the street. It's, how mentally unwell are they is one of them. And for Janie's, we focus on like surviving. So there are people there that just need to get through that day, just need the clothes for that day, just need a cup of tea. Like it's tough, but the work we do is fabulous. And I couldn't be more grateful to be involved with them as well.
So when you think about, I struggle sometimes with, obviously, number one, you have heart and empathy for those struggling with homelessness, right?
Yeah.
They've been a part of every society, every culture, every continent, every century, right? There's always been an unsheltered part of the population. And then there's the, debate of, well, how much is this circumstantial versus how much of this is, mental health or addictions or choices or whatnot. And one of the things that I thought was really beautiful when we lived in Chicago for a number of years, my wife, first of all, you just walk everywhere. You don't have a car, right? You're not locking your doors and rolling up your windows and acting like you don't see them. You encounter these people on the street. You get to know their name. You ask them how they're doing. You may give them a surprise, a little gift every once in a while. Oh, the weather's getting cold, pair of socks, right? Or it's a hot day. Here's a bottle of water, right? Like you're able to be a neighbor in the best sense of the word. And then, there's always this debate among, should you just hand people cash or are they just going to go spend it on booze or, what's the best way to help them? Would you have any advice as to how to encounter these people with dignity and how to help them if you say don't have the time to be involved in an organization like Janie's?
Yeah, no, it's a really, really kind of beautifully put question. I think a lot of homelessness, what I've encountered is, some of the stories are incredible. I spoke to someone that was a former teacher whose family, this wasn't with Janie, but I just met someone, and he was a teacher whose, I think, wife and children sadly died in a car crash, and he turned to alcohol and alcoholism. After 3 months, I think he lost his job, and then 2 months later he lost his home, and then he became on the streets. And he said for the first 2 weeks, people would help him and give him money and let him use their phones. After about 2 or 3 weeks, he started looking so disheveled that he wasn't allowed into stores, and suddenly he couldn't use. And he said once you entered that realm, you couldn't get out, because as soon as you walk up to people, they say no, don't want to, that type of thing. And I'm not blaming people for being like that. I completely, I understand why people might feel a certain way. But I think for me, I occasionally say this to my friends, next homeless person you see, buy a hot drink and say hello. Just say hi.
Ask their name.
Ask their name. And what Janie's Homeless Friends does, and Janie stresses this point to all of us, is it's not just giving them things, it's connection. So it's not just saying to them, it must be awful, it must be, stressing, adding to their stress. Hey, how are you? How do you feel? Where are you from? Oh, what part? Because a lot of them want to talk about where they're from and what part. People are very passionate about London. A lot of them are, I'm from North London, I'm from South London, that type of thing. So I just find that connection is great. I mean, whatever you can give is going to help. But I just give as much as I can whenever I can. I think it's... in this country, the way in London, especially the way we treat our homeless is just appalling. And I think if aliens landed tomorrow, they would be stunned that we have homeless people when we also have billionaires flying to space. Like it's very odd that human beings are left like this. And I remember someone once said that people get more upset when they see a dog with a homeless person than they do the dog. They do the person, because they'll rather buy a tin of dog food for the dog. I think it's because, as a human being, maybe people have scarcity complexes, and maybe homelessness worries them because they might, they think maybe that's me one day. You never know. But I always am encouraged when after a while people soften when we're doing our homeless drives, if you like. And I brought my partner Elle down to the home, and a lot of my friends down to one of our homeless events, and they've left beaming because these people are so grateful, and they're human beings, and human interaction is so important. We are all so connected with so many screens in our homes and in our pockets that I think the art of conversation and the art of talking to people is is dying, frankly. Face to face, I mean, I could agree to meet you in London by Big Ben, and we could do it all by phone and never speak face to face, and you'll be there. Back in the day when I was a kid, it was calling someone up, and then I'd hope David's at the cinema at 6:00. Otherwise, I'm going to go and see Spider-Man on my own. But I just think it's not for me to tell everyone how to treat homeless people. Each case is unique, and each person's unique, but a bit of eye contact and just saying hello is just a really almost poignant thing sometimes. And I've seen what it's like. I've had a homeless person thank me 50 times in a row for something. I've said, look, it's fine. How are you? How are you doing? What football team do you support? Whatever. And we get into it, and it's always nice. And a lot of them are, all of them are, lovely, really. They've just had, gosh, if I go to a festival and I'm outdoors in a tent for 2 nights, by the third day, I can barely function as a human being. So how people survive on the streets of London truly is incredible. I queue up for Wimbledon. I'm a huge tennis fan. I used to queue up for Wimbledon and slip with my friends and sleep in a sleeping bag overnight so we got onto centre court. And, by 8 a.m. the next day, I was nearly in tears on the phone to my mum, But how people do it, I don't know. How they do it, I really don't know. But at least we're doing something, I always say to people when I go to a dinner party or meet friends and we talk about, how awful this is in society. People often talk about society. Sometimes I say, what are you doing? I don't say it aggressively. I say, what are you doing? Why, rather than just talking about it, what are you doing? During lockdown, I doubled down on all my charity work. I went to a community Zoom call with 30 people, and for 2 hours, they basically talked about what website color they should use and who should design it and stuff like that, where I'm thinking, this is not the issue. This is not the issue. Yeah. And the next day I walked to my local community centre. I knew no one there, and said, hello, I'm here to help. I'm a spare pair of hands. What can I do? And they said, clean up loads of dishes and then prepare the tables and chairs for this event they had. So I just did that. And again, I just keep going. I just keep turning up and asking what I can do. The most valuable thing you can do is give time. Time is the most valuable thing that one has. And if you can give your time and turn up, it's worth the world to charities. So I highly recommend it. And the four character strengths are staying power, self-control, fairness, and good judgment. So there you are.
I wondered what the typing was.
Yeah, I had to pull it down because they'd kill me if I didn't remember the last 2.
Oh, that's fantastic! I love it. So the third topic that I want to touch on then briefly is you've let the cat out of the bag a little bit. You referenced your future father-in-law, and then you referenced your partner Elle. You recently became an engaged man.
I did.
Congratulations, brother. Tell me about it. How did you and Elle meet? How did you propose?
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. So we met on a night out in Angel in North London. She was with her dad and some friends. And yeah, we kind of met, got chatting, became friendly, stayed in touch. We didn't become an item, if you like, for a little while. And then we just started hanging out, and I should know this. We met 4 years ago, and no, forgive me, we met 3 years ago. And and just as time went on, Elle's a yoga teacher, and as I say, about 4 years ago, I really made big changes in my life. Physically, I started doing more charity work, mental well-being, stuff like that, and all of these things I was doing, and she really galvanized me into doing it. And Elle is just the most amazing person I've ever met, and she's just an amazing yoga teacher. She teaches at Tri Yoga, which is the best yoga studio in Europe. She just won her audition so she could train there, teach there rather. And so I had a ring designed and had to keep that secret from her for 6 months, which was like basically auditioning to be in the CIA. I'd imagine was as difficult. It was nice, and I had to pretend that I'd forgotten the name of her favorite jeweler and what she wanted and stuff, because I was actually getting it made. And frequently she'd say, I can't believe you've forgotten the name of Shakti Ellinwood, this jeweler. And I said, I can't really remember that conversation. And she didn't like that. But I proposed in July of this year. just after I started at Lineal, so a lot was going on in my life, but it was just such an amazing, exciting period. And we went to Hampstead Heath, where, funnily enough, we went the weekend just gone, back to the spot where I proposed, and had lunch, and it was wonderful. And yeah, we did in Hampstead Heath, very simple. And growing up as a kid, I always thought when I propose, it's going to be, top of Eiffel Tower or somewhere like some kind of maybe a plane spelling out my name, probably doing a PH instead of a V and driving me nuts and ruining the moment. But because of really the restrictions and stuff, it was UK based, and it worked. It was really kind of charming. And a friend of mine gave me the idea. My friend Steve gave me the idea to go to Hampstead Heath and kind of simply do it. The plan was to have everyone at the pub when we come back to, because we're British and it's all done in the pub. But obviously due to restrictions and so on, we couldn't. So we just had a very simple meal, and it was just happiest day of my life. And I've never seen my phone explode in such a way that she put it on Instagram, etc. And the amount of calls I got was incredible. And Yeah, but I couldn't be happier. Thank you for asking. It's been really wonderful. And Elle got to meet my colleagues from America who came over to visit. A lot of the executives came over for Christmas, and she got to meet everyone. So yeah, it's great. We get married in September of next year in the Cotswolds, which is a beautiful kind of countryside part of England, which is, I just can't believe it's happening. Really, I just can't believe that I'm fortunate enough to get married to someone like Elle. Really, and her mother Joan is a soprano, kind of a world-renowned soprano, and she's going to sing at the ceremony, as is Elle, who's also an amazing singer. I'm not, thankfully, because she might have second thoughts about the whole thing. And yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Her friends are also singers. Elle comes from a performing acting drama school background, so all of her friends can sing beautifully, and it's truly amazing. So yeah.
Well, good on you, and enjoy this phase of life, because I'm going to read you a text that I got from my wife this morning.
Oh, good. Please do.
So, okay. She said, so she sends a picture for those watching on YouTube. You can see the photo. That's my living room wall. And you can see it's a little blurry. You can see the red crayon all over the wall. And she says, this is what happens when mommy is on the phone for too long. And then 20 minutes later, she said, well, when I was cleaning that up, our other daughter, so our 2-year-old did the wall. She's like, when that happened, our 6-year-old walked in the room and got sick. And to make sure that nobody stepped on it, she told everybody to get out of the room, and the 4-year-old turned and ran into the door. So enjoy this this newly engaged bliss and the wedding planning and not dealing with all of that, because that's your future right there.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your candor. I understand you're expecting your 4th child and your first son. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, that's absolutely right. So by the time this airs in January, we'll be about 5 weeks out from baby short number 4 and the first boy. So yeah, wow. I'll be slightly less outnumbered in the home.
Yeah. God, that's so exciting. Congratulations, Ryan. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, Stephen, this was such an honor and a pleasure and a privilege having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. I absolutely loved it. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Excellent. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.